Hi. My name is Zia Khan. I'm the president of the American Heart Association. I'm just gonna wait a minute before I start just to get a sense of, just let everybody log in. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and start. Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming today. I'm gonna try to moderate this webinar through Zoom. I got multiple screens going, so if you see my eyes darting everywhere, I apologize, but I'm really excited about this. My name is Zia Khan. I'm a cardiologist, chief of the cardiovascular clinical program at Queen's Heart Institute, and the current board president for the American Heart Association of Hawaii. So I'm very excited about this. This is a discussion on workplace wellness. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And I want to thank you guys for joining too. And it's of note, April Move More Month for our workforce well-being panel discussion. In the spirit of that month, we're going to have the opportunity to get moving and active later on during this webinar. And we also have some really great speakers joining us today to share out ways they're building a culture where their employees thrive. So over the next hour, we're going to share some ideas, some tools and actions for implementing or enhancing wellness programs just to support your employees' overall health. And you hopefully can take this back to your companies and start implementing some of these things. And so to kick us off today, we're going to share out a resource that you might not be aware of. It's called the American Heart Association Wellbeing Works Better platform, which helps business leaders promote health and well-being for all and get recognized for their achievements in championing well-being. So here to share out on the first Wellbeing Works Better program is Janice Kushimi, Vice President of HR at First Insurance Company of Hawaii. Welcome, Janice, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Dr. Khan. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be a part of this event. It's great to see everyone. FICO has been on its wellness journey for a while now, as have all of you. We continue to learn as we go. Over time, we've gotten better at identifying and meeting the needs and expectations of our employees. FICO received a gold level recognition in the American Heart Association's 2022 Workforce Wellbeing Scorecard. The recognition is always nice, but more so, I appreciate the affirmation that FICO is on the right path. I thought I would share some best practices that we've learned and adopted over the past 5 years while building and managing our wellness program at FICO. So first, cultivate leadership support. Support from the head of your company is key. We've been fortunate in this regard. If your CEO is willing to share their wellness journey, it can go a long way in inspiring employees on their own personal journeys. Second, have clear goals. Think carefully about your objectives for your program and find the right fit with your company's culture. If you're like FICO, the pandemic probably turned everything on its head. The stuff we took for granted in the past, like the esprit de corps that comes with everyone seeing each other daily, is no longer a given. Post-pandemic, some of our goals haven't changed. What has changed is our heightened focus on mental health and creating opportunities for associates to come and see each other together, build relationships, and develop a sense of belonging. Third, consider an interactive element. We use an interactive platform that allows employees to track their progress. For instance, how many steps you take in a day, and compare it to their coworkers in friendly competition. It's been an effective tool in promoting healthy competition between program participants. If you can, offer rewards. Sometimes we need an extra push to reach our health and fitness goals. Prizes, gift cards, cash rewards are great motivators for employees and encourage those on the fence to buy in and commit to the program. At FICO, our employees can earn up to $650 a year in wellness incentives. And lastly, form a committee of committed associates. Having a committee for your wellness program committee not only keeps it fresh, but drives participation and helps it grow. Committee members get to build relationships with colleagues in other departments while having fun and making a positive impact on everyone's well-being. Before I sign off, I wanted to briefly touch on why FICO participates in American Heart Association's Wellbeing Works Better initiative. For us, it's a better measure to how we're doing and progressing relative to ourselves and companies nationwide. It helps us identify what we're doing well and areas that we can improve. It also shows our employees and potential recruits that we're serious about employee wellness. In today's competitive job market, every little thing helps. FICO is only one of 2 companies in the state currently participating in this program. It's a missed opportunity to receive national recognition for your efforts and demonstrate to your employees and recruits that you're committed to their well-being, and it's free to participate. This year's deadline for submission is October 31st. Watch for more information from AHA after today's session. I'm looking forward to a great panel discussion today. I want to thank American Heart Association for giving us this opportunity to learn from each other and grow stronger together. Dr. Khan, back to you.
Thank you, Janice. That was really insightful. I think just a couple of things. I just thought the way you laid that out was really well done. Like, first, just getting buy-in from leadership. Second, like clear goals, or in healthcare, I don't know how it goes in the business industry, but we always say SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, time-bound. And just because starting a wellness program can be just overwhelming. So just having a few clear goals that are time-bound, and then it's a trigger habit. After that, more habits form. So that was great. The interactive element was really key. I was thinking about the Apple Watch and the compete function, and how even in our office, we compete on points and walking. The rewards can be something small, and the committee is a great idea. So I really, I'm very happy that you're here, because I actually got some good ideas to implement and some reinforcement on what's good. So thank you, Janice, and congratulations to FICO on, once again, the gold level recognition for your commitment to employee health and well-being. It really is inspiring. And as we know, well-being is more important than ever. As a reminder, here are some facts we're working with as employers. US workers are among the most stressed in the world. 57% of workers in the US and Canada are feeling stressed daily. Workplace stress is as harmful as secondhand smoke, and it can increase the chance of stroke or heart attack by 40%. It's hurting employee mental health. 78% of respondents say workplace stress affects their mental health. So we really need to address employee wellness. In fact, it's a business imperative, which is why I'm thrilled to be joined by some wonderful panelists today who are tackling this and making employee wellness a forefront by creating a workplace culture that supports employees' health, both their mind, their heart, and their body. So please join me and welcome our panelists, Michael Story. First panelist, Michael Story, Workplace Wellness Advisor from UHA Health Insurance. Lauren Nahme, Vice President of Strategy and Innovation from Kamehameha Schools. And Derek Kanehira, Senior Vice President of HR from Alexander Baldwin. And so thank you to Michael, Lauren, and Derek for joining us. We're looking forward to hearing more about how each of you are focusing on wellness for your employees. Michael, if you don't mind, we'll start with you today. So the question I'm going to start with, or the concept, is that research proves that if you have a strong sense of purpose, it can help you maintain and can lead to more physical activity. Michael, how does UHA focus on purpose?
Thanks, Dr. Khan. Thanks for the introduction. It's great to be here. Good to see everybody on Zoom. Good afternoon. In response, actually, to the research you cited, yeah, I do believe there's a reciprocal relationship between purpose and physical activity. You know, you could say it's sort of the central tenet to well-being. People who have a greater sense of meaning may be more likely to take care of themselves because they've got this ultimate purpose that they're trying to achieve. And health really is the foundation for being able to do that. And during the intro, those striking stats that you shared about the state of our workplace, you know, I could posit that, you know, perhaps purpose can be seen as an invisible elixir to the workplace stress. But getting back to your question, how does UHA focus on purpose? You know, first, understanding that each individual works for their own reasons, and that finding your purpose can be elusive. For some people, purpose is more spiritual concept, or maybe has a religious dimension. And for others, it's just purely secular, you know, a need to be valued as a member of a group. At the end, though, I think we all need to be needed, right? Ultimately, mattering does matter. But second, and really importantly, to have a solid wellness culture, the leader's role, it can't be understated. That's where the heavy lifting really is. I remember when I joined UHA, our CEO, Howard Lee, he invested his time to teach me about purpose, and it actually helped me try to find my own purpose and really why it was important. I learned a lot from the discussion. Howard started the session by talking about UHA's purpose and how it came to be, and then he switched to my purpose and explained how an alignment between the two can lead to a thriving life. And Dr. Khan, what hit me immediately was his caring that I actually led a thriving life. That was a powerful moment for me. It was inspirational. Howard made me feel like I did matter. And as a leader, not only one that cares about hitting their numbers, which they have to, but also, inspirational leadership. I think those leaders have the best chance of getting the full potential out of their team and keeping them well, as well as the organization. And I just want to be clear, it wasn't just for me that Howard did this. He did this for everybody in the company, and that's a lot of time invested in your people. At UHA, we have a wellness culture and done a number of things to strengthen the foundation, like the purpose initiative I mentioned. But I also want to highlight the theme of April, the Move More theme. Just a few months ago, we had a company-wide Move More challenge. And similar to what Janice shared at the beginning, the challenge was focused on moving more, but the ancillary benefit was that it created opportunities to come together, to develop those stronger relationships and a deeper sense of belonging. And in fact, one of the impetus to this was an employee-led group. A UHA associate felt that connection that she felt during the challenge was so beneficial that she started her own hiking group. The group's grown with UHA associates and their family and friends, only through word of mouth, but it's also spawned other activities for the group, which is further deepening connections within our employees at UHA. It's really gratifying, to watch organic growth of a healthy community. But in the end, when we talk about wellness in the workplace that supports employees' overall health, I'll always reflect back and remember the purpose meeting because that registered with me. It showed that the CEO cared enough about his staff that he took his own time to connect with each of us to teach us about something that was such a personal topic.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. That was really insightful. You didn't disappoint. I was looking forward to hear what you had to say, and that was great. I think one thing that you said that was just really, I think really resonated with me is that you just start somewhere. Like you do one thing, right? And then just that meeting, and then it helped you define your purpose. And then you have this Move More challenge, and then someone goes out and develops a hiking group. And so it really does just start with a small first step, right? They say, if you want to exercise every morning, just start by putting your shoes out, like, by your bed or whatever, by the door, and just start really small. And that's, I don't know what the proper term is, but more or less a trigger habit in the sense that it triggers this cascade of things that who knows where it ends up. And so maybe you start, as you say, just start moving more, start a hiking group. Maybe you start, well, I'm investing all this energy in hiking and moving. Maybe I should eat a little bit better. And then it just keeps going. And it's a complex system. It can go better that way. It can go worse that way. Okay, I'm just going to stay another hour and watch television. An hour becomes 2 hours and 3 hours. So those little things, those little decisions we make, they add up. And you're very lucky and fortunate to have such a supportive institution, supportive leadership. So thank you so much for sharing. And thanks to the UHA team for allowing you to do the work that you do. So I appreciate it. I'm going to head over to Lauren. I heard that Kamehameha Schools just wrapped a 21-day wellness challenge for your employees. Congratulations on that. Can you share with us a bit about how this came about and any early results or successes that you attained from that?
Sure. And if you indulge me, I'll just share just a little bit of background about the why and how. So being an educator, we have 3 K-12 campuses and 30 preschools across the state. And a huge focus in the last several years, not just on the academic, achievement of our students, but the whole child, because we know that what kids bring to the classroom is what happens at home, how they're feeling physically, emotionally, socially. We know it all matters. So already just as an education institution, focusing on the whole child. Then it was like, well, what about our teachers? And then what about the administrators? And what about everyone else who supports them? So it really started to bleed into our entire organization and the focus on whole wellness. So that was one thing. The second was COVID, having gone through the trauma of COVID, working at our organization during that time, and just the blood, sweat, and tears that our staff had come together to really support our students and our employees to make sure that everyone was physically safe, still being able to have their learning environments, even if it was digitally only. But the amount of hours that people were staying up late to do things they never did before, like contact tracing and sending out test kits and all of these things. It was just an incredible, a huge feat that everybody went through. So I think the stresses of that, and then also just the isolation that came from COVID, we saw even when kids were coming back, just the longer term impacts on both our kids and our employees. So that was the second thing. And then third, I give credit to the American Heart Association. I was asked a year and a half ago to join the campaign committee. And I was so blessed to be able to learn more about what American Heart Association does. It's not just about the heart, but same thing, really seeing that whole health and our whole lifestyle matters and in our heart health. So I just really appreciated just how much more deep and broad they were thinking in terms of how they make an impact on the heart health of our community. So as a result of that, kind of putting all of that together, we actually I went back to we have a wellness committee called Ola Pono, and it's made up of a cross section of our organization. So it was a really neat way. They're all volunteering on top of their regular jobs. And they were seeing that they did a survey last year, and we had a response of about over 500 people in our organization. And the results of that were pretty stunning. About half of them felt good or excellent about their physical health and wellness, but about a third, a little over a third, felt just average, and 1 in 5 felt poor about their health and wellness. So that was a wake-up call for us as an organization. And so with that inspiration from our work on the American Heart Association, just thought, okay, we got to do something. And I know that the American Heart Association has definitely promoted these kinds of programs with the companies that they work with. So we're quite inspired by that. So what we did was we dedicated a couple of staff to work with our Ola Pono committee, again, who are all volunteers across our organization, including folks from our endowment, our commercial real estate, human resources, and even on the educational side. So it was a great cross-section. And we challenged that team to say, hey, what can we do to deal with the results that we're getting from our staff survey? And so we put together a 21-day challenge, and we tried to tie it in with who we are as a Native Hawaiian organization. And, Native Hawaiians are so much about whole health and focusing on the solstice, really connecting nature and the physical world with our own health. So 2 times a year, it's been a very normal practice for Native Hawaiians to go through this almost a rebalancing and cleansing. So March, which we ended up not doing it in March, we did it in April. So yeah, we're just finishing it up now, mainly because we have spring break during March and a lot of folks are not around. So we're able to get, they structured a 21-day challenge where everyone can decide what is their challenge for 21 days. Try to have a friend that, at work that you're going to do this with to have personal accountability. Submit what those challenges are. And for the first solstice, April, we were going to focus on physical health and also nutrition. So you come up with 2 goals, one for physical, one for nutritional health, submit it, have a weekly submission of what are you keeping with that challenge that you set for yourself. So we had weekly submissions, and we're just rounding out. Actually, today is the last day for submissions. And we had 600 people participate, and in a really short period of time, our communications team were just floored by how much engagement we got. We created a whole separate channel. We use MS Teams here, and we created a whole separate channel so people could be submitting all pictures, ideas, recipes, all kinds of different ways that folks are kind of helping each other. And it created a whole nother level of energy amongst folks. Because the other thing we realized, and I actually face this every day when I come into the office, is that, you know, during COVID, during the last 3 years, we've had hundreds of staff start in our organization that don't know anybody. So this is a really great way for folks to not only our colleagues that we already knew, but to engage with new ones. So it's been a really great way to energize, to really reinvest in the health of our staff, and for everyone to just build new energy to focus on health. And the next one that everyone wants to focus on is on mental and social well-being. So that will happen in September. So just to kind of round this out, so everyone who participated is going to get a small little gift. Those who completed all 3 progress surveys are going to get a hydro flask and some stickers and little logo items. But the folks who completed successfully and show a video and testimony about what changed for them, they're going to then be put into a drawing, and we're going to have 5 grand prize winners up to $1,000 in value each. And the different kinds of things that they can choose from are a Lomi home composter to really add to your own, say, garden, a digital fit device so you can continue to monitor your own physical fitness, a tower garden where you can grow your own vegetables even if you live in a condominium or don't have a yard, an Aura ring so you can monitor all parts, not just what you eat and how much physical activity you're getting, but also how you're sleeping. And then finally, you can have a professional development of your choice. So those are the grand prizes. We're really excited. We'll know next week who gets that, and we'll be it'd be great to share. I'll share with Molly and Kelly what the results are. But we're really, really excited. I think it's kicked off new energy, and our team, our committee was so energized by it. And it took a lot of effort because it's volunteer. We're actually figuring out a way to have a more dedicated commitment to staff to make this a year-round, all the time thing.
Lauren, I'm totally blown away of what you're doing. That's amazing. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm just processing. There's so many things. So a couple of things, and I'll keep it short just for the, one thing is I think you already know this, but you're hitting, the opportunity is so huge where you are in terms of your position. First, where do habits start? Where does heart disease start? There's a study in Louisiana, Bogalusa Heart Study. It shows you can start developing plaque in high school. And your behaviors, regardless of the disease state, your behaviors start when you're a kid. And so you have one of the largest school systems in the state, well-funded, you have such an ability to make an impact. And then, so that right there, the opportunity you have is huge. Second, the key thing is the faculty and the administrators, because they are role models for these children. And so, and what you do is as important as what you say. So if you're hitting the faculty and the administrators and you're saying, no, we got to move, we got to be role models for this, you are making generational impact, which is great. And a couple of key things from your intervention. One is that the accountability of just monitoring throughout, and then the specific goals again that are time bound, the reward system. I don't know. I think you should write a paper, because this is a textbook way to do it. And then we could scale this up. But anyway, you are doing an amazing job. And so thank you for doing that. And I hope that
Thank you.
Our institution and other institutions can sort of model what you guys already shared. So thank you so much. I'm going to share a quote from the CEO of the American Heart Association, Nancy Brown, who said, soaring levels of stress and burnout contribute to incredibly high employee turnover rates, which is the tip of the iceberg. It is no longer an option to prioritize a culture of health and well-being. It is a business imperative, as well as an employee expectation. Derek, can you share more about what Alexander Baldwin is doing to support your employees' mental health?
Sure. Well, thank you, Dr. Khan, and thank you, American Heart Association. Well, it's super inspiring to hear what Janice and Mike and Lauren just shared. In our corner of the world, we don't have a silver bullet, nor have we, I guess, cracked the code when it comes to addressing mental health. But happy to share kind of some of the work that we've been doing kind of along our journey in that space. And maybe to help put some context around my response to your question, Dr. Khan, thought I'd kind of take you back a couple of years during the height of the pandemic, when we really initiated this discussion to address both mental health and mental fitness. So some of the more non-negotiables, I guess, that we agreed on as a committee was at first, let's make it a priority, right, to create this leader-supported, safe space where employees can openly express themselves without that fear of retribution or feeling of embarrassment. We all came to recognize that mental health is a very sensitive topic, and really trying to stigmatize mental health can be a rather insurmountable challenge. So some of what we've done, and we're continuing to work in this area to better improve ourselves, was creating these small group talk story sessions that really encourages open dialogue. Some of it had to do around social unrest. But then again, there was times when people just talked about personal matters. Some were leader-led and some were just colleague and peer-led. We've partnered with our employee resource groups, like say our women's group, our pride group, for example, to really get a better understanding of population-specific issues that were surfacing or that were worth discussing. We also started our DEIB, or Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging training for all employees, and we created a special session for managers. And in that session, we also included unconscious and implicit bias training as well. But I think one of the most powerful ways to help us normalize the conversation around mental health and to create this safe space is when we have a leader that's willing to be vulnerable and openly share about their mental health journey. And for those of you on the call today that have experienced this in your own workplace, I'm sure you can relate to the positive and profound impact it has had on your workforce. One of the other non-negotiables was really prioritizing the voice of the employees, right? Like many of you, you have your employee engagement surveys, other pulse surveys, and which we do too. And we've included questions around psychological safety and DEI. We've also included psychological safety in our ESG meetings. And what we've committed to is really paying attention to what employees are saying and then follow up with the appropriate actions, just so that we can continue to have these conversations going. And I think the last thing that we committed to doing was being intentional, kind of being clear in your why, right? Letting employees know what you're doing, why you're doing it, what you're hoping to address, and even in some cases, what outcomes you're hoping to achieve. And it's just amazing what we found, that by being intentional and clear, it's really helped to remove a lot of that unnecessary stress and anxiety and often skepticism that comes with asking questions or putting forth an initiative. So now, fast forward to 2023. This year, we kicked off our mental health program with a Thrive at Work pulse survey. This was conducted in March, just last month, and it focused entirely on mental health awareness. Some of the key findings, which I'll share in a bit, is going to be used to help us create events for our Mental Health Awareness Month, which kicks off, I guess, next week. It's the month of May. So it'll help us to kind of create content for the month of May. It's also going to spill over to our own self-proclaimed A&B Wellness Month, something that we celebrate every year during the month of June. And this year's theme is going to be self-care, where the focus will be on taking time for employees to do things that improves their physical, mental, and emotional health. So the survey findings themselves from our Thrive at Work survey included, one, there was a lack of awareness around the mental health resources that are available through our health plan carriers. So to combat that, we've scheduled our health plans, both HMSA and Kaiser, sorry, Mike, to hold separate webinars in May to identify what mental health benefits are available through our health plan. And most importantly, we're asking the plans to help employees understand how to access and maximize those benefits. We're also going to couple those webinars with our EAP provider to hopefully increase not only visibility, but also the utilization of our underutilized EAP benefit. Employees also shared that they greatly appreciate some of the things that we currently do. We offer flexible working arrangements like many of you. They appreciate Olakino, which is our wellness program and our wellness platform. And they also appreciate our monthly disconnect days, which we introduced back in 2021. I'm sure many of you have a variation of this in your workplace, but for us, our disconnect days are typically the last Friday of the month. And it's a day in which we have a moratorium on meetings, we discourage internal emails. And as a result, we've actually seen a sizable increase of vacation days being used on disconnect days. Personally, I've done it myself. And what I love about it is I'm not coming back from vacation to this overwhelming kind of overflowing inbox of emails. So I think many have recognized that. And because of that, the utilization of vacation on that day has increased. We also found that 96% of employees are comfortable, or at least somewhat comfortable, discussing mental health with someone in their own personal circle, which I think is an excellent statistic to know that employees have someone they can turn to when they need to have these conversations. But on the flip side, when it comes to discussing mental health in the workplace, having a conversation with your manager, the favorable score drops to 67%. And with company leaders, it dropped even further to 41%. So again, there remains that opportunity for us to continue our work on creating a safe space for employees. And the last item, employees indicated that overwhelming workload and unrealistic deadlines top the list of things that contributes to the most workplace-related stress and anxiety. And so we've acknowledged that. We've let employees know that, hey, we're going to address this. While it's not an easy feat, we're going to be putting together a workplace efficiencies assessment. And hopefully that's going to yield some items for us to consider and some items for us to think about implementing in future years. So fingers crossed, we'll see how that assessment plays out later this year. So anyway, those are some of the things that I thought I'd share with you that we've had in our journey, and hopefully there could be some takeaways for you, or maybe even start a conversation in your own workplace to support mental health.
Derek, thank you so much for sharing. I feel so lucky to just absorb all this knowledge. I think one thing that speaks of your company is you said 90% feel that your company prioritizes mental health and overall well-being. That's outstanding. So congratulations for that. You, in a very humble way, you noted areas for improvement, but still you should take stock of that. That's amazing. A couple of things that you highlighted for your employees were, empowerment to speak up and say stuff, making a culture where you can say things, a culture that's safe, where even targeting implicit bias, which is great, and then just transparency, and just so people know what's coming. And so those are all really important things. One thing that that may be transformative for me is, and I'm trying to still process, is a disconnect day. I'm looking for a disconnect 10 minutes. And so day would be amazing. So thank you for that idea. That'll take some time to process, but again, I'm very lucky to hear your thoughts. So thank you for all the great work that you do for your employees.
All right, thank you.
So yeah, and I'm going to invite Glyza Kamano to join me. Glyza is the executive director of the Hawaii division for American Heart Association. She helped put all this together, and she's been paying special attention to the chat to watch your questions. Glyza, I actually have been watching it. Do you have any questions we can ask the panelists?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dr. Khan, and mahalo. Aloha, everyone. Thank you first to our amazing panelists here for joining us today in this dialogue, and especially to everyone here on the call for just joining us to tackle such an important topic of wellness in our own workspace. So yeah, as Dr. Khan shared, would love to take a few minutes to read off some questions, and there's been some great activity in the chat, which is awesome. And apologies if we don't get to your questions. In today's conversation, the AHA team will make sure to follow up with you to ensure that you get some answers. But first, as Dr. Khan alluded to, and I think as what Derek alluded to as well, implementing a wellness program in the workplace isn't an easy feat at times, right? And so folks in the chat are curious, and I think this question can go to anyone on the panelists. If you have insight, on average, what percentage of employees participate in these challenges that you all have shared? And if you can share any successes or learnings, or even particularly some challenges getting employees to sign up. I don't know if Mike or Lauren wanted to chime in on kind of the participation.
Sure, thanks, Glyza. There's some percentages that hold pretty well across organizations, and these are sort of fuzzy numbers, but 15 to 20% of folks are going to be all in all the time, whatever you do. There's going to be another 20 to 30% that are going to be, okay, we'll participate, but we're not overly excited about it. Then there's going to be another 20 to 30% that are going to say, I'm not really interested in doing it. I'll wait to see who signs up. And then there's going to be that last 15 to 20% that just won't participate regardless of what you do. So that's a standard that holds up a lot of the time. But I think if anything, and we've heard it with Derek's survey and Janice's survey that they've done, is at least asking the employees what really affects them, what they're interested in. Because look, not everybody wants a step challenge. Some people can't do a step challenge. So what is that would make well-being work for them? What are those things that they can do so they can engage and you can increase that participation? I
love that. That's awesome. I know, and I guess, and Lauren, if you wanted to chime in as well, I think you've implemented a great program in your team. And so I don't know if you have an insight for some of the folks on the call.
It's actually pretty consistent with what Mike said. So for this first challenge, which was the first, we had about 20% that participated, and they a pretty high percentage of them stayed highly engaged for the entire time. And this was the first one. So we're imagining that what we're hoping is that one, when we switch over to mental and social health, that there will be, I think, even more interest. And secondly, I think there were many folks who just wanted to see how is this first one going to go. So we're hoping to do more promotion and storytelling, so that between now and the next time, there will be even more engagement, even higher engagement than the 20%.
I love that, Lauren. And I think you had provided some great incentives, you and the team, just to build up momentum and excitement for everyone internally. And so a question that came up, or to you or to anyone on the panel, if there are any suggestions for incentives or prizes with those who have limited or no budget. I don't know if there's any creative opportunities or ideas that Lauren, Mike, or Derek, that you or your teams have kind of brainstorm on.
Look, every business partners with other organizations within the community, and to reach out to those organizations that you naturally partner with within your business is a great way to go. Often you'd be surprised how encouraging people are in our community to give when they hear about what you're trying to do for your employees, because look, it extends beyond those four walls of the office into our community and into our families and into their homes, and it really strengthens the fabric of the community. So one suggestion is just look at your business partners and see what they may be able to bring to the table. And look, if there's a quid pro quo there too, you have to understand that, but that's one idea.
I love that. Lauren, did you want to share a little bit more as well?
We had another idea that we didn't pull the trigger on yet, but the other was just even asking for those in leadership to contribute personally as a commitment, a personal / professional commitment to our organization. So, but that was another idea that was thrown out there too.
I love that. I love the idea of utilizing your internal leadership and also your external partners, and how do we continue this momentum and this excitement and be creative for our teams internally. This is awesome. And Derek, I actually have a question for you, a popular question about your disconnect days. Many folks in the chat would love to hear a little bit more about it. If you could share particulars or a little bit more detail in your disconnect days and how you implemented it.
Sure. And that came from, I think, a lot of the sentiment that we were hearing early in the pandemic, where that work and life was kind of one was bleeding over to the other, right? And so helping employees to kind of stay focused. And so initially what we started with was disconnect day was a time for you to say, time out. There's all these emails I need to address, or I need to respond to. There's this administrative work that I need to do approvals. I need to create performance reviews. I need to do a whole bunch of other things, but I wasn't really finding that dedicated time to do that. So it was helping employees kind of keep stay organized to get things done. And so it's evolved over time. About 3 months into the test pilot program, we asked employees, what were your thoughts? Did it help? What would help it, to make it a more effective use of your time? And we collected a lot of that feedback, and I went back to leadership and I said, hey, here's an idea. And we put forth that, what if we had a moratorium on meetings? We really would discourage folks from, emailing one another. We noticed that employees were not taking time off. Obviously, we didn't have anywhere to go, so we didn't use our vacation. But we realized that it was still important for people to disconnect from work, right? And that this model was not sustainable for employees to be on call 24/7 virtually. And so thus it was born that, we said, okay, let's try this for another 3 months. So for 3 months, we said moratorium on meetings, going to really discourage emails unless there's a business necessity, granted, go ahead and send those emails, right? So we tried that and we surveyed our employees and we had a 98% approval rate. So they said, well, leadership, this is what we're going to do going forward. And so, yeah, it just became something that's now going on, I guess, the second year. And so employees love it. And as I said previously, there continues to be this increased use of vacation on disconnect days because, again, there's not that FOMO, right? That fear that you're going to miss out on something. And also when I peek into my email, wow, okay, I've only had 2 emails. Is this thing working? Did they disconnect me, literally? But it's just amazing. It's great. It kind of feels like back in the pre-email days, right? Before you had access to your emails outside of work. It kind of feels like that now that you're on vacation on a disconnect day. So
I love that. I love that you had this idea, you surveyed your employees and you brought it up to leadership and really embedded it in the culture of your workplace to ensure that nobody feels obligated to check their emails on these disconnect days and everybody's on the same page. That's amazing. There was a lot of excitement when you mentioned disconnect days on the chat. So
and then this year we've added another element to that where we're combining mindful moments. So while we send an email out to the employees, say, don't forget, I think it just went out today, in fact, don't forget this Friday's disconnect day. Then we also have a link where employees can celebrate any wins that they've had in the recent past 2 weeks. And so they might just put in there, I had a full night's rest, or I was able to finally take vacation during spring break, or whatever it is. And so they're sharing, we're prompting them to share things. And then in our quarterly town halls, and we post up the different things that people are grateful for. And just kind of reminding folks that there's a lot to celebrate, even though there's a lot ahead of us that we still need to do. Don't forget that we've done a lot, right? And so let's take time to celebrate those wins as well. So.
Love that. Acknowledging the employees, acknowledging your teams, and making sure that they're validated in this mental well-being space and that they're supported from leadership down. That's awesome. Love that. I'm sure we're going to get a number of questions about disconnect days. That's popular still in the chat. And so I know we probably just have a few minutes for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. And then for this one, I know there are a lot of individuals in the chat, not just on Oahu, but on our neighbor islands, and how do we implement this, right? And so one of the questions that came up, let me just make sure I have this up for here for the team. Or actually, let me jump to this one. If you're not a manager or a leader in your office, how can you influence change, or really just starting the dialogue towards well-being? And I think this could go to any one of the panelists, but I don't know if there's anybody in particular that would like to take this on.
I'll start and then I can kick it to somebody else. Yeah, that's not uncommon. It typically starts with the champion within the company that wants to make a change. And the easiest thing to do is just continue to be that champion, not expect too much from anybody, because what you feel may be good for you is not necessarily good for others. But if you can continue to talk about wellness, well-being, and people watch and they'll see. And ultimately, the idea is to build up the critical mass within the organization and really just start small. It doesn't have to be anything big. In fact, I think a lot of times companies, if they look within what they do, they could find these little nuggets of wellness activities that they're already doing. And so when you find those, you can also magnify what the company is already doing. Yeah,
I love that. Thank you, Mike. I know there's such amazing questions and dialogue in this conversation. And so I want to make sure we get to maybe just one more. And this goes to directly for Janice and her FICO team. I think such an amazing and huge congratulations to FICO for achieving gold in the wellness recognition program. And so Janice, a few folks on the call wanted to know and just hear from you how long it took to complete the Well-Being Works Better assessment, and where if there are any challenges or what that looked like for you.
No, so there is, definitely a benefit component to the questionnaire that you're going to need to get some of that kind of data going. But other than that, just questions. It does not take huge amounts of time. So please don't use that as a hurdle to not at least, try. And the whole purpose of it, again, is to kind of get feedback, right? What areas are we doing well in? What areas, can we identify to work on more? So yeah, I wouldn't say that it's definitely not a week kind of thing. It's really just about any other kind of survey that you're going to be responding to that does request for some data.
Yeah, that's great, Janice. Thank you for that insight. I know some of the individuals on the call were looking to completing the assessment, and hearing from you that it's not a lofty task, but also just the opportunity to survey your employee base and just to really take an assessment and analysis just for the well-being of the company. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I want to be mindful of time. And I know we have a few other things that we wanted to cover, Dr. Khan. So keep the questions coming. Our team here at the American Heart Association will make sure we filter through all of them and make sure that your questions are answered via email after this call. But again, thank you to our local sponsors, FICO, UHA Health Insurance, and Hawaii Food Service Alliance for making this possible. Huge thank you again to Janice, Michael, Derek, and Lauren for joining us in this amazing conversation, providing some great tips for everyone here on the call. I'm excited to just building a healthy Hawaii alongside many of you here. Dr. Khan, thank you again. I know we just have a few more things, but now, we at the AHA, we love to live our mission and get everyone up and moving for Move More Month. And so excited because we're joined by Eva Bandar, who will lead us through an office-friendly stretching session just for a few minutes. So Eva, I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eva. I'm the program manager at the Kids Cook with Heart over on Maui. Aloha for Maui. I'm here to do a quick 3-minute stretch with you guys. So we're gonna relax and stretch it out a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, we're gonna try to sit up nice and tall. I'm gonna have my hands here on my lap. Take a big breath in. Exhale. One more like that, big breath in. We're gonna have the shoulders rolling up. One more. I'm gonna slide the hands down the lap. Just look down. And pull back up and look up. All right, let's do it again. Slide the hands down your lap, look down. Back to the center, look up. Last one. And look up. I'm going to bring it to the center. Bring the hand up and over. Gentle pull, big breath in. One more, please. Go the other way. Big breath in. One more. Release. Few more shoulder rolls. Go the opposite way. Okay, we'll do a big hug. So you're gonna just bring your elbows behind you, look up, wrap around, look down. Do it again. Elbows are gonna reach behind you. Wrap around. Do this one more time. And we drop the arms down. Roll it out, shake it out a little bit. Big breath in to finish up. Exhale. One more. And we're done. Thank you guys for joining me. Aloha.
Okay, thank you so much for helping us stretch out and reminding us to take a mindful moment in our busy days. One concept I think just is important to understand is and we talked about mental health, we talked about physical health, and there's this concept of the 7 domains of wellness, like spiritual, financial, emotional, mental. And so thinking of those things, and you may want to Google that or look that up, because again, wellness is not just, your physical health, as we've highlighted multiple times here. But also thank you to the panel. And so before we close out, I want to turn it over to share a message from our 2023 Hawaii Heart Walk Chair, Scott Sue.
The American Heart Association is on a mission to be a relentless force for a world of longer, healthier lives by fighting heart disease and stroke. Heart disease is Hawaii's leading cause of death, and stroke, while 5th nationally, is the 3rd leading cause of death and major disability here in Hawaii. That's why I've decided to take on the challenge of serving as chair of the Hawaii Heart Walk. We know that employee wellness is a top priority for a family of companies. We hope that you'll join us to learn more and take steps toward healthier living. The HEI family of companies is honored to support the American Heart Association's important work across the islands, and we are really looking forward to the best walk yet. And I'm thrilled that Shelley and Ann will serve as co-chairs of the Executives with Heart campaign.
We're all tied to heart disease and stroke in some way, and we must change that. One life lost is too many. That's why we're partnering with leaders and organizations across Hawaii to make this the biggest heart walk yet. American Heart Association encourages all of us to get up and get moving for better physical and mental health. Every walker who joins, every dollar donated means more research, more people trained in life-saving CPR, more medical breakthroughs, and more champions for equitable health.
We encourage all of you to be a part of Heart Walk. By registering for Heart Walk today, you're taking the very first step to save lives. Bring your teammates, your family, and all your friends to the 2023 Hawaii Heart Walk. We hope you'll join us on Saturday, August 5th. For more information on getting involved, visit www.highheartwalk.org.
Awesome. So I'm excited about the Heart Walk next step. Also, I hope I was really inspired today, and I'm going to process this because it's just so nice to see so many people care about heart disease and their health, and we'll see what the community is doing. So I'm very inspired. I hope our participants are equally inspired and go out and implement some of these things that we learned today. So thank you all for joining us today. The American Heart Association will be following up with some resources and tips that were shared today. And again, we hope to see all of you at the Heart Walk on August 5th, 2023. Visit www.hiheartwalk.org for more information and to register. And thank you again and have a great day. Thanks for joining us.